Back, brand new video today. We're doing two NFL player props here on PrizePicks for Monday Night Football, Monday, November 25th. Before we get started, you guys take a look in the description below the video. Join the Discord, $9.30 per month, 31 cents per day. Currently doing a promo right now, 20% off first-time members of the Discord. Comes out to like $7 for the first 30 days. Again, link in the description below for that. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. Other cappers in there as well. Super positive community. Overall, everyone just trying to help each other cash. Also, follow me on Twitter, by the way. Been posting daily plays of the day. Again, at Tough Picks. Just trying to keep my Twitter account growing. So, again, at Tough Picks on Twitter. Follow me. And then Daily Grind Fantasy, you guys. The DFS Optimizer, an absolute elite tool to add plays into your parlays every single day. Currently, like NFL slate, like the top play on the board right now is Derrick Henry under 15.5 fantasy score. 54.82% odds to hit. Because traditional sports books don't have fantasy score lines, Daily Grind Fantasy does all the hard work for you. Takes like what their rush attempts, rush DDs lines are on these books, and gives it what their fantasy score line would be. So like on DraftKings, it should be 13.4. It's at 15.5 on PrizePicks, showing us these type of line discrepancies, giving us a 54.82% odds to hit. So again, there's a link in the description below this video. You can get 25% off your first month over at Daily Grind Fantasy, the DGF DFS Optimizer. Link in the description below, 25% off your first month using promo code TUFF. But let's get into it, you guys. Two player props, Monday Night Football. Going just a super simple route with this game. I like this game on paper for, projected just game total and it being indoors, no weather won't be a factor at all, and just based on how these two teams are playing. But first play is going to be Justin Herbert over 18.5 fantasy score. Taking a look at this game, obviously indoors, like I said, 50.5 point game total, 2.5 point spread, right? Super simple read in that regard. Just expecting a shootout. Vegas projecting a shootout in both teams. Obviously, Baltimore's had a prolific offense all season, one of the best offenses in recent years. But the Chargers, more specifically, their offense has been really on fire as of late. They were in a shootout just last week against the Bengals, and you kind of look, they scored 26 points or more in 4 straight games, coming off that, just shootout versus Cincinnati here. But it's the best matchup Justin Herbert's going to have all season long. We know the pass funnel and the pass defense that the Baltimore Ravens do have, and he is over this line in, I think he's over in 4 straight games, if I'm being honest. Yeah, 4 straight games. 24-19, 19.76, and 25.38 last week. Obviously, the Ravens allow the most passing yards in the NFL and the third most fantasy points per game to the quarterback position. What is this? Third most total touchdowns. Yards per attempt, they ranked 5th. So overall, it's just matchup-wise, it doesn't get better, right? We know how prolific the Ravens offense is. We know they're going to be able to score the football, and they're going to throw the football as well, move the ball down the field, which should just mean more possessions for the Chargers in this one. But an interesting stat I looked up here. So this is Outlier, by the way. You can get a 7-day free trial with the link in the description below. Justin Herbert, over 18.5 fantasy score. Like I said, this game total has a 50.5 point. This game total is 50.5 points. Over Justin Herbert's last 10 games, when 41 total points are scored, 41, right? So that would be 9 points lower than what the line is set right now. He's over this line in 9 of 10 games, averaging 23.39 fantasy, right? So you can see the hit rate when 41 points are scored. Like, for example, if we bump this up to like when 50 points are scored, if, it does hit that, he's over in 5 of 5 games. 5 of his last 5 games when 50 points are scored, averaging 25.43 fantasy, right? And if you kind of look at quarterbacks, fantasy score game like this season versus the Ravens, we've seen 6 different quarterbacks clear the over on this line. And what's interesting to me is 4 of the 6 fantasy quarterbacks that have cleared the over on this line have faced Baltimore at home. So again, we know maybe possibly that tells us that Baltimore's defense, that is very vulnerable, doesn't travel well as well. And they have to go from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast for this game tonight. So love this spot here. Obviously, the Ravens' rush defense is absolutely elite. We know this as well, allowing the second fewest yards per carry in the NFL, and the 7th fewest fantasy points per game to their running back position. Like you can see, running backs game like this season versus the Ravens. No running back has gone over 63 rushing yards. So again, that just tells me if the Chargers are going to win this game, is going to be throwing the football. If this bumps to 19, I would still play it as well. And then again, just attributing and helping my research here, Justin Herbert's over pass plus rush yards at 279.5 is a 53.14% odds to hit, as well as his fantasy score down here, 52.16. His line should essentially be a 19 plus on all other books. So again, if this does bump to 19, I'd still play it at 19. But yeah, Justin Herbert over 18.5 fantasy is the first play. Second play is going to be Lamar. I like just both quarterbacks here, fantasy scores. Again, you could pivot to pass yards for Herbert, and then maybe like pass plus rush yards for Lamar if you don't have fantasy scores on your books. But looking at Lamar, obviously, the front runner to win MVP, he's just absolutely been so elite this season. You can see the type of hit rate. And then away games, right? He's just been elite on the road this season. Really just, I mean, if we take a look at just his home versus away splits, all of his numbers, has 1,600 passing yards, 14 pass TDs, only one pick on the road. And then obviously indoors, he has a 66.7 pass completion percentage. Just, I mean, insane season from Lamar Jackson, right? We don't need to really break down the type of talented player that he is. But similarly to how I broke down Justin Herbert in games when, again, 41 points are scored, 9 of 10, averaging 23.39. We do the same thing for Lamar. In games where 46 points are scored, he's over in 8 of 10 games, averaging 27.63 fantasy, over in 8 of his last 10. Right? For some reason, if there is 50 points scored tonight, 59 of his last 10, averaging 28.8 fantasy points. And again, similar thing, the Chargers are just elite at defense, stopping the run. Or not necessarily, I mean, they give up a decent amount of yards per carry, but like fantasy points to their running back position, 12.6, which again is why on Daily Grind Fantasy, Derrick Henry under fantasy is the top play on the board. But you can see here, Chargers great at stopping the run, great at just limiting running backs, which is, I'm assuming, what Jim Harbaugh is going to do in this one. We look at we look at quarterbacks. Actually, let's look at running backs. Like, running backs have not had a ton of success versus the Chargers. I mean, Chase Brown had 22 carries for only 86 yards. Tony Pollard, 9 carries for 44. Taylor Spears, 7 carries for 47. And Chubb, 15 carries for 39 yards. Like, Alvin Kamara, 10 carries for 67. So it's, like, been tough for running backs to really get going. And again, we look at quarterbacks, right? Fantasy score game like this season versus the Chargers. Obviously, Joe Burrow went in a shootout last week, had 29 fantasy. But Bo Nix and Kyler Murray both had 21 plus versus the Chargers, but with 64 and 61 rushing yards. Will Levis had 41, which tells me Lamar is going to be able to possibly run on this Chargers defense, right? Every team defense has their vulnerabilities, and the Chargers versus the quarterback position, rushing yards, they're allowing the 10th most on the season, right? But what's yards per carry to the running back position? They are allowing the 5th most, 5.95, which again gives Lamar Jackson that rushing upside here in a matchup where we obviously need fantasy points. And what tells me here, three of the top 5 highest scoring quarterbacks fantasy wise against the Chargers this season have had 40 plus rushing yards. I mean, Bo Nix and Kyler Murray, both 60 plus rushing yards, 21 and 21.7 fantasy. Again, we can all agree Lamar is more talented than both these guys and has better weapons than both these guys. So again, simple read here. Just going with both quarterbacks in a game total that is 50 points, projected for each team, 2.5 point spread. Indoors, again, like I said, this really speaks it all to me. Justin Herbert, when 41 points are scored, 9 of 10. Let's do them when Lamar Jackson, when 41 points are scored, 8 of 10, 26.46. Justin Herbert, 23.39. All we need is 18.6 and 21.1. So again, please drop a like on this video, guys. Take a link in all the descriptions below. And as always, let's cash.